It was the summer of 2020, and my wife looked at me, and I looked at her, and I said, "Honey, it's been a rough year. Our anniversary is going to be August the 10th, and we need I sure would like to spend a day or two and just relax." And she said, "What do you have in mind?" I said, "I've always wanted to go deep sea fishing. It just so happens on August the 12th at St. Mary's, Georgia, we're going to start a seminar." I said, "Why don't we go early and let's go deep sea fishing for our anniversary?" And she looked at me. She said, "All right." I said, "Let's go deep sea fishing." Now, that's a wife. And I said, "Okay." So I called the preacher over there at St. Mary's Church of Christ, Georgia. I said, "Brother," I said, "I want to go deep sea fishing, and I want to know who the best is." And he said, "Rob," he says, "in a normal summer, you'd never get him." He said, "But no one's doing anything because of COVID." He said, "Here's his number." And I called him. I said, "Sir," I said, "my name's Rob. I got 5 of us, my dad and my family. We want to go deep sea fishing, such and such date." He said, "Well, son," he said, "I don't have anything." He said, "I'll take you." He said, "My first mate and I will take you." And I said, "Great." I said, he said, "You have to sign some COVID waiver," whatever. And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, I said, "All right." I said, what time am I going to meet you?" He says, 3 o'clock on the dock. I said, 3 o'clock? I said, "That would give us a lot of time to fish." He said, "Oh, son, 3 in the morning." I said, 3 in the morning? I said, "Captain," I said, "how in the world am I going to know it's you at 3 in the morning?" He said, "I'll be the only one there." And I said, "Well, fair enough. I said, "I'll be." So I looked at my wife. I said, "No, honey, we're going to have to get up at 1:30 in the morning." Well, 1:30 in the morning. I said, "Yes," and we got to get out in the dock. And so my family, Jared, Hannah, my dad, and we all got out there, and here he is, him and his first mate. Got a 28-footer, nice boat, rig. And he said, "Y'all hunker down in there." He said, "Well, I'll get you up. It's going to be a while." So it's 3 in the morning. We hunkered down, and he's taking us out, for the first hour. Pretty exciting. And after that, I went to sleep. And it was hours later, and the sun was just tipping over the horizon, and he stopped the boat. He said, "All right." He says, "Time to get the bait." I said, "Well, where is it?" He said, "You're going to catch it." And so we put our poles in, and treble hooks going up and down the line, and he looks over. He got the high-tech equipment. He go, "All right, guys, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pull them up." And I pulled it up, shad, bait fish all over. I mean, it was just lined up. I was like, how did he do that? And so we're taking all the bait fish off, putting it in the live well, and things are going well, I said, "Man, this is great." And he said, "All right, hunker down. We're going to go out a little bit further." He said, "Now, son, what is it you want to catch?" I said, "The big stuff." I mean, I didn't come for it. I want the big stuff. He said, "I'll get it for you." So we got down in, and this old guy, he keeps going out and going out. Now I can't, there's nothing around, and we're way out there, in the Atlantic. He said, "All right, guys," he says, "who's going to go first?" I said, "I will." He said, "First mate, strap him in." Now, brother, when they have to strap you in, you're in for it. So he literally puts a harness on me, hooks me into this seat. I got a big pole, I'm a thick old pole. And he says, "All right, throw it out there." And we get it out there. He says, "All right." He says, he's going around. He said, "There it is. Hey, son, are you ready?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, 10, and he starts counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, there it is, son, pull. And I'm telling you what, it just grabbed that line. Whoa. He said, "Hold on, son." That first mate's right next to me. He said, "Oh, keep it up, son, keep it up, pull back, son." He said, "All right, reel forward, son." And for 30 minutes, I'm fighting that sucker, and it's out. You can see it out there, just, it's huge. It's called a kingfish. You know why they call it a kingfish? No, it's king. It's huge. It's massive. This thing's as big as I am. And I'm pulling that sucker in, I said, "Man, this is exciting." Everybody got the cameras going, the video equipment's going, pulling it on in. I said, "All right." And I just about get to the back of the boat. It's called a barracuda. And it comes across and it takes half my fish. Boom. It sliced it like a razor right in half. My fish was still pretty big. But that barracuda took half my fish. And that day, every one of us had our limit by 2 o'clock. And we're heading back. That captain knew his stuff. That captain had all the equipment. He spared no expense. That captain had all the knowledge. He had read the books. He had watched the YouTube videos. He knew exactly where the fish were. He knew exactly the kind of equipment he needed. He gave his life. He had everything in order. He had the fishing equipment in order. Everything had a place. He had a strategy. Do you know we have men right now in the Church of Christ, and they're more equipped to go out and get the big buck than they are to go get a sinner? because you give your life to it. You spare no expense. You'll go out there and get the best camouflage, the best climbing tree, the best rifle, the best rounds. You'll go out there and read the deer hunting magazines. You rent your ground, get your feeder, get your corn. And you don't complain about getting up at 2 in the morning. You get your camera. Now, we don't just have deer cameras. We got the Wi-Fi cameras. We don't even have to get the SD card anymore. It pipes right into our computer screen. There they are. Yeah, 535, there's the big buck, that's the 10-pointer. I'm after this one right here. And I mean, we're prepared. We go out there, opening season, deer season, they're sitting ducks. We got men right now in our churches, and you spare no expense. You go out there and get your bass boat, you get your fishing rod, it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter. It's twice as much as anything else here. You get your bait, you get everything you need. We got everything we need from our men to go deer hunting. I want to know, are you willing to give that to get a soul? I want to know this afternoon, how much are you willing to give to reach the lost?
We're not doing it.
Brethren, because if you give half that, and you give half that time, half that energy, half that attention to it, we would fill our buildings. Brethren, I'm going to ask you this afternoon to be men. I'm going to ask you to stand in the gap, because we're losing the church. And we don't have time to put this off anymore. We have to act, and we have to act now. We need our churches, we need our men to stand up and lead. I'm reminded of the story told of Winston Churchill. And the war was going badly. They were being bombed every day. The morale of the people were low. The spirit of the people had been crushed. And Neville Chamberlain was about to give it all up. He was ready to meet with Hitler. He was ready to come to terms for peace. The world was in disarray. No leadership had been exhibited. And Winston Churchill knew, if I cannot stir the hearts of my people, if I cannot rally the spirit of the Brits together, we will lose this war. So he walked in to the Commons and he spoke to the Parliament. It is known in history as one of the greatest speeches ever given. He took a Parliament that would have voted him down when he walked in, and when he was done, they made him Prime Minister, and they went to war. And they won the war. One of the things that Winston Churchill said in that speech was, he who fails to plan is planning to fail. Brethren, we have no plan. We don't have a plan to reach lost people, and because of that, we're losing the war. So I come this weekend to give you a plan. Your elders will have to tweak it. You'll have to work it. But we've got a plan, and we know it works. So what I need to do in this lesson is lay out the plan. Now, I'm not going to execute the plan in this lesson. I'll do that when I'm done. I plan to do some execution before I leave. But I know, as any good coach knows, you got to bring the team in. You got to put the whiteboard out there, and you got to draw X's and O's. If you have no X's and O's, you have no plan. And I've got to draw the X's and O's. And so I'm going to draw the X's and O's in this class. In my private session, I will blow the whistle. Now, those X's and O's don't mean anything if you don't execute it. So here are the X's and O's. Number one, what do you need to save souls? You need Bibles. I never thought I'd have to say this, but we have a lot of churches that do not have Bibles for Bible study. We have pew Bibles, but we don't have Bibles for Bible studies. We need Bibles. We need to get Bibles. We need large print Bibles, giant print Bibles. We need Bibles that we can use for Bible studies. Here's a fact. More and more Americans don't have Bibles. We ought to be prepared to have Bibles and use in Bible studies. Now, if we can send Bibles halfway around the world, and if we can spend thousands of dollars to get Bibles to Ukraine and India, why don't we have Bibles? That's just basic. We need a method. And it doesn't matter to me what method you use. You can use Fishing for Men, Fishers of Men. You can use Open Bible Study, Ivan Stewart. You can use Searching for Truth, John Moore. You can use Back to the Bible, Bobby Bates. I'd suggest Back to the Bible because it's simple. Because that's what we're using. But you need to have a method. You need to have a method for people who've been sitting in your pews for 10 years and never obeyed the gospel. It's called Does It Matter? You need to have a method for people you meet that don't believe in God. You need to have a method for people you meet and do not believe in the inspiration of Scripture. You've got to have a method. That man had a method. He had everything I needed. If my line broke, don't worry, I got it. Here's swivel. Not any swivel, no, the best swivel. That's an expensive swivel, doesn't matter. He spared no expense. It wasn't even an issue. Whatever you need, I've got it right here. Because he knows that we cannot accomplish the mission if we don't have the equipment. Do you know in a lot of our churches, brethren, we have all the equipment we need? We have coffee pots, coffee filters, coffee stirrers, coffee grinds, coffee creamer, coffee pot. We have coffee. We have it all. We have refrigerators, microwaves, ovens, spoons, plastic forks, plastic knives, tablecloths, tables and chairs. We have everything we need to open a soup kitchen. Yeah, we have everything. We're ready. And we got everything. And I've enjoyed it. And I'm glad we got it. But we've got laminators. We've got copy machines. We've got scissors, safety scissors, just for the little ones. We got glue, safety glue for the little ones. And we got crayons, map pencils, map crayons, poster board, colored paper. We've got die cut machines. We got everything we need to open a school. Where's our evangelism equipment? Where's our equipment to reach lost people? Where's our Does It Matter? Where's our Believe the Bible? Where's our Back to the Bible? Where are the materials that we need to bring people? Where are the materials we need to teach people? Where are the materials we need for new converts? Where are the materials we need to reach the community? The first thing you got to do is make commitment. The first thing you do is you got to make an investment. You're making an investment in this church, in the future of this church. And if we can get all those other things, and we don't have these things, we're not going to make it. Number 2, where should you put them? Well, I would highly recommend that you set up an evangelism center, an evangelism table. Now, I'm going to lay all this out in a curriculum. I'm going to lay it out for you. But an evangelism table is important because it places the materials that your members need in front of their eyes, like this. I'm going to show you how to get that, what goes on the table, where to put it. Put it someplace where the members would have to trip over it to get out of the auditorium. Make sure they see it. I was at a church not long ago, and I said, hey, brother, I said, we're early. I said, we got an hour just to chat before someone's going to show up. He said, all right. He was an elder. I said, brother, if I was one of your members and I wanted to do a Bible study, I said, where would I get the material? He said, He said, I was prepared for you, Rob. He said, follow me. So I followed him. We went down a long hallway. It was dark. We turned on light switches. We finally got to the very end of the hallway. He said, Rob, they're in this room. I said, wonderful. Let's get in there. It was locked. But don't worry, we had the ring of keys. You ever seen the ring of keys? It's lots of keys. We get them off the belt loop and we go through all the keys because we don't know which one it is. We finally get into the room and he says, preacher, they're out there they are. They're back there in the cabinet. Of course, it was locked. And we went through the ring of keys. Don't worry. We went through all the keys. We got into the locker. We pulled out a stack of Back to the Bible. He said, preacher, we were prepared. We had these ready. I said, brother, may I ask why the materials needed to teach someone the gospel of Christ are locked in a room and locked in a locker? He said, we were afraid someone might get them. Isn't that the point? Don't we want them to get them? Why are we locking the evangelism material in the preacher's office? Why isn't it out here where people can get to it? Now, I'm going to tell you a true story that happened last month. That was a true story that happened about 2 years ago. Let me tell you what just happened last month. Preacher calls me and said, hey, Rob. He said, I got to tell you. I'm not going to tell you his name or the church because I don't want to embarrass people. And I said, what happened? He said, well, this church had me come up here and teach a vacation Bible school to the teens. And I said, okay. He said, So I taught the curriculum they gave me. There's this young lady. She came every class. She sat right in the front, took notes. When it was all over, she said, Mr. I'm just going to call his first name, Daniel. Mr. Daniel, can I talk to you? I said, sure. So Daniel said, I pulled her aside. She said, Mr. Daniel, my parents are lost. They're not Christians. How do I teach my parents the gospel? Daniel said, I was overwhelmed. That's wonderful. I said, have you ever had any classes at this church on how to do a Bible? No. He said, no, wait a minute. Rob was at this church about 3 years ago. I remember. She said, yeah, I think he was. And did he not teach y'all how to use Back to the Bible? I don't know. I don't think I was here at that time. Maybe I don't remember. He said, yeah, we can do this. Hey, deacon of evangelism. Come here. Hey, this little girl wants to teach her parents the gospel. Can you help her? Do you have anything that you can give her to do a Bible? Well, I don't know if we have. We could order something from Gospel Ad. He said, wasn't Rob here 3 years ago to train you how to do that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, I know exactly where those are at. Locked in a closet are back to the Bible. Brethren, that angers me. I don't know why it is in the Church of Christ we are not placing evangelism material in the hallway for our brethren to get to it. Why is it locked in a room? We don't lock the coffee in a room. We have plenty of coffee. This is the actual stuff. And then he asked the deacon this question. Do you think you could help her and teach her how to use it? He said, well, I don't know. I'll find someone who can. This is the deacon of evangelism. Brethren, I would guarantee almost tonight that everybody in this room could do back to the Bible. Number 3, we've got to not only provide the materials to the brethren and place it in a highly visible place, we've got to train our members. We have to train you. You know, people don't like to use things they're not trained how to. You know, a DeWalt drill into the hands of a carpenter is a mighty tool. Put it in my hands, it's a deadly weapon. I don't know what I'm doing. No one's trained me how to use these tools. Train me how to use a table saw, and I'll be a master craftsman. But I would suggest don't put me in front of a table saw without training. I want to keep them. All right, and so it's training. You have to be trained how to do things. We have to train our members how to use back to the Bible. We have to train our members how to use believe the Bible. We got to train our members, and I would suggest you don't do that on a Monday night. You know why? Because guess what? You lose 90% of your members. You know when you train members? When do we have most members present? What service? That's when you train them. You hand it out on Sunday morning. You put the power, and I'm going to give this to you. Brother, I'm going to give you guys so much stuff. I have so much to give this eldership and so much to give this church. We're just touching the hem of the garment. I've got a year's worth of stuff to give you. It's all laid out. It's professionally designed. You put it on the screen. You start hitting the forward button, and you put it in the hands of every member. Everybody holds it in their hands. Anybody that can write, and you just start teaching them how to do it. You know what happens when you teach members how to do Bible studies? Guess what they might do? Cliff Goodwin calls me. Cliff Goodwin does preaching the gospel. He's an incredible preacher. And he had me come train his church there in Ironton, Alabama. And he calls me a month later. Rob, we've got a lot of baptisms. I said, well, it doesn't surprise me. And I said, Cliff, you're very talented. I knew you'd have a lot of baptisms. He said, Rob, I haven't done one of them. He said, these widow ladies out here, you know, we taught them how to do Bible studies, and they're doing them. He said, then they'll call me like on Sunday and say, Cliff, could you come up to the building? My neighbor wants to be baptized. The best phone call, Will Hester, you'll ever get is from a church member that says, I've done a Bible study. I need some help to do a baptism. It is the best phone call you'll ever get, elders. When they call you and say, I've done a Bible study and can you help me? That's a phone call. That's what has to happen. That's why we train our church members. You never know who will do a Bible study. If you don't train them how, they'll never do it. Number 4, promote an evangelistic atmosphere in your church. Teach your church how to reach people. Make an atmosphere, a culture in your church that attracts evangelism, that creates an evangelistic awareness everywhere you look. And so the fellowship hall has an evangelistic awareness. The Bible classes, evangelistic awareness. Your food pantry, evangelistic awareness. Everything's evangelistic. It becomes the culture of your church. It's said that it takes 21 days to break a habit. Y'all heard that before? 21 days to break a habit. Guess how long it takes to change culture? A year. You got to do something for a year before culturally it begins to become a part of who you are. That's why our school is a 1-year training curriculum, because we know we got to get you doing this for a year. This cannot be a 5-week, 10-week course. This has got to be a core. This has got to become a lifestyle. It's got to become something you eat, you breathe, you drink. The members, it becomes part of who they are. Let me give you a taste of it. Let me just give you a taste of it. What if the elders of this church said, you know what? We're going to make benevolence a soul-winning exercise. You know, for most churches, benevolence is not soul-winning. Benevolence is just about feeding the poor. And so when someone calls you and says they need food, guess what you give them? A bag of food, right? Because we're supposed to feed the poor. Is it the mission of the Church of Christ to solve world poverty? Is it the mission of the Church of Christ to solve poverty in Fulton, Kentucky? Is it the mission of the Church of Christ to feed the poor? Is that your mission? Brethren, the mission of the Church of Christ is to save souls. No, yes, we are authorized to help people with food. Yes, I understand that. But didn't the Lord say the poor will always be with you? Didn't he say that? You know why he said that? Because he knows he can't solve world poverty, and that's not his job. But you know what we can do? We can use benevolence to do Bible studies. We can make benevolence evangelistically centered. Let me give you a quick way to do that. I've got a lot of things to give you guys. Let me give you one quick one. Hello? Yes, my name is Will Hester. I'm the preacher here at Parkway. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we do. We do have food. Yes, ma'am, we offer that. And yes, ma'am, we do help people from time to time with their light bills. Yes, ma'am, we understand it's cold outside. We don't want your children to get cold. Yes, ma'am, we have gasoline too. We do help people from time to time with gas. Yes, ma'am. Whatever it is she asks for, it's a yes. Man, I've been looking for you. I've called all these churches. No one seems to care. I can't wait to meet you. Sir, when do you offer this? Every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, and we can't wait to meet you. Oh, well, I don't know if I can wait till Sunday. That's okay, because we do it also on Wednesdays at 7:30, and we can't wait to meet you. Well, sir, I just don't know I don't have a car. No worries. We will come pick you up. Oh, we can't wait. What time do you want us to be there? And when she gets here, do you know what we're going to do? When she walks in the door, just guess what we're going to do. We're going to do a Bible study. We're going to ask this brother right here, or this brother, hey, would you go grab lesson 1 back in the Bible, take her to room 3, get your wife with you, because we're not going to be with a woman by ourselves alone. That's not ethical. So we're going to take our wife with us. We're going to walk into that room, and we're going to do a Bible study with this person that needs help. Brethren, if you can't do a Bible study during Bible class, maybe we should just sell the building. Isn't that a novel idea? We would do a Bible study during Bible class. Have you ever heard that before? Actually, is it scriptural? I don't know if we could do that. Yeah, I think it is scriptural. That we take somebody and study the Bible with them during Bible class. That's just one of the things, one of the tools I want to give you guys, because that works. We baptize people at Jacksonville doing that. And so we don't just give it to them Monday at 2 o'clock. No, Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, we can't wait to see you. Well, I can't wait until Sunday. That's okay, because county services will get you by until that time. But if you want help from our church, that's when we offer it. All the charlatans, by the way, that try to, you ever have a charlatan come through and try to, they try to, have you ever noticed they're from always New York? And they always run out of gas in your parking lot? And when you ask them if they're a member of the Church of Christ, they say, oh, yes. And my reverend back there, they're taking you for a ride. There's no reverend. All the charlatans, you'll filter them out because they're not waiting till Sunday. But there's a genuine lady out here that needs help. She'll come. She needs help far more than just food. And by the way, after you do that Bible study, the elders, the deacon, whoever it is, they can talk to them and say, what do you need? How many of us would be more willing to help a person who's done a Bible study than somebody we've never met off the street? We don't know if they're taking advantage of us. That's one way to do it. I'm going to give you a lot of ways. That's what benevolence looks like in most churches. Turkey giveaways, blessing boxes, vouchers, teacher supplies, benevolent buildings, coat drives, and backpack drives. And guess how many baptisms those give you? How many baptisms does your benevolent work produce? Isn't that the bottom line? How many Bible studies are we getting? Almost none. What if we make those evangelistically centered? What if we say evangelism now is woven into that? Then we get Kim. Kim called the Jacksonville Church of Christ. She said, hey, hello? Yes, my name's Deb Rice, and this is Kim. Kim, what can we do for you, Kim? Well, I got this house to house. It says you offer community services. I just moved here, and I need some help. Well, sure, Kim. What do you need? I need some food. We got plenty of food, Kim. Okay. Kim, can you come to church Sunday morning? Oh, I don't have a ride. Don't worry, we've got one for you, and we'll be glad to send somebody to get you. And we did. We picked her up, and I wasn't there at the time. Took her to no, I was there for Kim. Yeah, we were in town. So we picked Kim up. We took her to services, and we're talking to her, and she I enjoyed the service today. And I said, well, Kim, what is it you need? Oh, I need some food. I said, well, let's go to the DG. Y'all have a DG in town? Dollar General? Y'all have those? All right, we went to the Dollar General. And I let Kim get what she needed. I had the church card. I said, Kim says, Rob, she says, I hate to ask. I said, well, what do you need, Kim? I got a bad back. I said, yes, ma'am. She says, and I fell in my bathtub yesterday. It's slippery. I need one of those rubber bath mats. I said, oh, they're $5. They're right here. They're probably $10 today. But back then they were $5. And so we grabbed the bath mat and we put it in the shower. I put it in there for her, And she, oh, well, really nice, Rob. And I said, well, Kim, I said, you need a ride tonight for church? Oh, well, yeah. I said, we'll pick you up at 5:30. So we picked Kim up, and church is sending her cards, thanking her for visiting. And we're just getting to know Kim, and church. And when I walked into Kim's house, I noticed something about her house. It's a government housing, mold infested, mold's everywhere. I said, Kim, you got a big mold problem. She says, yeah, but what do I do about it? I said, you call the government. And I said, they'll do something about it. They just don't know. And so they moved her to a brand new one. Well, I can't move, Rob. I got a bad back. I don't have a car. I said, we'll move you. So I called a bunch of men. How many of you men would go help move somebody in the community if we needed your help? Would you help us? So we moved her. All right? So after I'd done all of that, and she has 50 cards sitting in her new place, guess what I'm going to ask? Anybody have a clue what I'm going to ask? My one-liners, y'all remember them? Kim, what do you think about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? Oh, like that church. Really nice church. Yeah. Kim, would you like to know more about us? Nope, don't want to know anything more about you. Come on. What is she going to say? Yes, I would like to know more. I just so happen to have these what? Little booklets. What do you think she did when we finished our studies? She is faithful. She does not miss. Number 5, I got 10 things to teach you. I'm going to spend 90% of my time on point 5. 90% of us are right here. Because if you don't have this, you have nothing. Brethren, you must develop contacts. It is the number one thing you got to do as a church. Because if you don't have contacts, you have nothing else. It doesn't matter that you have 200 sets of Back to the Bible. It doesn't matter that you have 50 sets of Believe the Bible. It doesn't matter that you have a beautiful evangelism table and a nice church building and a nice preacher family. It doesn't matter. You have to have people. We are a people-based church. We have to have contacts. Take your Bibles. I'm going to show you something. Everybody got their Bibles? All right, men. Let's go to Matthew 22. I'm going to walk you through Matthew 22 because this is just hard to beat this right here. It's just hard to beat this right here. Matthew 22. All right, we're in Matthew 22, and let's just start verse number 1. Jesus answered and spake unto them, saying by parable, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a certain king which made a marriage for his son. And he sent forth. He's a sending God. He sends. The Great Commission doesn't say, come on in. He's a sending God. You better go. He sent forth his servants to call. He's a calling God. He calls people. And brethren, we got to call people. Because if we don't call the masses, we're not going to get them. He's a calling God. And then he says that they that were bidden, he's a bidding God. He's a sending God, a calling God, and he's a bidding God. All 3 things we've got to do. Notice, to the wedding, and they would not come. So he gave up, right? Nope. He did not give up. Again, he sent forth his servant, saying, tell them which were bidden, behold, I prepared a dinner. I got food. I got food. Tell them they got to come. I got the food. He's a God that understands the power of a meal. He's got the meal prepared now. All things are ready. Come to the marriage. Oh, we got the food ready. Come, And now, let's go down here to verse number 8. The wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. They began to make excuse. They wouldn't come. And then the Lord didn't give up. And the Lord said unto him, verse number 9, go then therefore into the highways and get as many. Now I want you to take that word many and circle it. Take the word many and circle it in your Bible. I promise we're going somewhere. All right. Many, and ye shall bid them to the marriage. In other words, get out there and get to the many and bid them. Why? Why does he bid many? Why doesn't he just bid 1? Why doesn't he just bid 5? Why many? All right, let's find out. Bid the many. All right. Verse 10. So the servant went out there into the highway and gathered together as many. He went after all of them. He wanted all of them. He's not going after a few. He's going after a many. Let's go down here to verse number 11. And the king came in to see the guest, and he saw there a man which had not a wedding garment. Here was an unprepared man. Let's go down to verse number 14. This is where I'm going to key in on. For as many are called, and few are chosen. Why did he call many? Anybody want to gander a guess? Why did he call many? Why did the Lord say, go out there and call many? Why? Wasn't he afraid that he wouldn't have enough room? Wasn't he afraid he wouldn't have enough food? Wasn't he afraid that he couldn't seat them all? Why did he call many? Because he knew that many wouldn't come. Do you know who understands that principle right there? Walmart. Walmart understands that you need to call many. Hallmark understands you need to call many. Navy recruiters understand that you don't put a Navy recruiting station in Fulton, Kentucky. You know where you put the Navy recruiting station? You know where you put it? You put it in the mall in Nashville, Tennessee. You put it in the mall in Memphis. You know why? Because you need many. Do you know who else understands this? Fundraisers understand. You need many. Because if you don't have many, you're not going to get the few. The only way you get the few is you've got to produce a ton of contacts. Let me rewrite this verse. Please permit me some liberty. I'm going to rewrite the verse, and I'm going to make it where it represents the church of Christ. Few are called, and almost none are chosen. That's where we are. We call very few. When I ask how many contacts do you have, how many contacts right now is this church working on? How many contacts are you working on at your church where you attend? How many contacts right now are you trying to get to? Very few. In fact, if I had you name them and say, name me the contacts right now you're working on, some of us would have a hard time coming up with enough to make one hand. That's not Matthew 22:14. Matthew 22:14 says, many are called. Brethren, Walmart gets that. So they go out there and they do everything they can to get to the masses. They know the masses aren't coming, don't they? They don't need the masses. They just need some. Brethren, we're not going to get the many, are we? Did not Jesus say, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be that go in thereat? And did not Jesus say, narrow is the way that leads to life, and how many find it? Read the verse again. Keep that in mind. Many are called. Many are going. How do you call them, by the way? How do you call them? With the gospel. 1 Thessalonians 2:14. They are called by the gospel. We don't call them by gimmicks. We call them by the gospel. And we get out there, so we've got to make contacts. Now, here's where I'm going to spend some time. How do we do that? How do we make contacts with many? Well, I'm going to give you some ways. I'm going to save the best way for Will and the elders. I can't wait to share this with you later. But here I'm going to give you some. Number one, house to house, heart to heart. You got to get your name of your church out there. You got to let everybody in the area know you're here and you want to help them. Now, I thought when I started this school, Alan Webster said, Rob, would you put your school under our umbrella? We'll give you our staff. That's a pretty tempting offer. I had no staff. And I didn't have any promotional editors, designers, website technology. I had none of that. And you need that to start a school. He said, we'll give you all our people. He said, all you got to do is teach people how to use that. I said, how to use house to house. I said, well, what do you mean? They don't know how to use it? He says, no. So I went to the first church. Big church. I'm sitting in a conference room with a bunch of elders, a dozen elders. And they said, well, Rob, what do we do? And I said, well, first of all, we need to make use of house to house, heart to heart. And they said, oh, we've done that, didn't work. I said, what? What do you mean it didn't work? It always works. I said, well, how are you guys using it? And then I began to dig in. Here's what I found. Most of the churches I visit do not know how to use this. They have no idea how to set it up. They do not know how to advertise. They don't know how to use it in the community. And because of that, they're not getting the results they should be getting. One of the jobs I have while I'm here is to help you learn how to use this. Because if we don't use this properly, you will not get the results that it can give you. For example, number one, on your house-to-house, heart-to-heart magazine, is there a phone number on there? Okay, if I called it, say tonight about 7 o'clock, who am I going to get?
There it's going to have, I believe, my cell phone number and the church
very good. Because most churches don't do that. Most churches have the church office. It's only manned Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 2, and you can never get a human being. So if you got somebody in this community and they want to contact this church and we can't get in touch with you, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to the Baptist church because they can get a hold of them. So if we can't get a hold of you, we're not coming. That's just a bit. I'm starting with number 1. I got 10 things to teach you. I'm going to give you a couple. Number 2, here's the second thing. How about if we put on the bottom of that magazine where it says services offered, right here, it's right on the bottom, right there. So how about if we put this, free transportation to the building? Do you think someone might call you from the surrounding community and say, I don't have a car, I don't drive well at night, would you come get me and bring me to church because I'd like to go to a church? In the 70s, we called these bus ministries, and we'd literally bus them in, right? You know, I realize we don't live in the 70s, but here's what I do realize. I'll guarantee you'll get a baptism if you'll put that in there. Someone will call this church. Someone will call you and say, can you pick me up? Now, I got a question for the men here. If someone called this church and said, we need a ride to church, would any of you help get them? I bet you would. This guy right here, put him in charge. He says, yes, I'll do it. All right, so I'll go get him. So what we need to do is let people in the community know we'll pick you up and bring you for free. So it's called free transportation to the building. Now, I've got a lot more to say about this. This is Ellen Bethea and her husband, Perry. So I got back from a seminar. My family had been gone for about a month. And I pulled back into the church building. And my wife decided to go see her mom and dad. She hadn't seen them in a while. So I'm by myself, which is unusual. And I'm sitting in the pew. And I look back and Ellen walks in and sits down. I don't know Ellen. She's a visitor. Alan Webster preaches, finishes his sermon, walks back. I get up, walk back with him. I said, who's that? He said, that's a visitor, Rob. I said, first time? He says, first time she's here. I said, I got it. I moved in behind her. She won't escape. I went right in behind her. After the closing prayer, she turns around. Hey, my name's Rob. What's your name? Oh, my name's Ellen. You visiting, Ellen? Sure am. I said, Ellen, from the community? Sure are. I said, welcome. I said, we're glad you're here. I said, Ellen, what'd you think about our worship service? Yeah, I like it. What do you think about our preacher? Man, that man loves the Bible. Quotes a lot of scripture. I said, he sure does. Alan loves the Bible. And I said, well, Ellen, I wish my wife was here to meet you. She'll be back tonight. Oh, you got an evening service? I said, we sure do. Well, I'll bring my husband back tonight. He was going to come this morning but wasn't feeling good. And I said, well, I'll be looking for you, Ellen. I've made first contact. All right. So Ellen comes back Sunday night. I introduced my wife to her. She introduces her husband, Perry, to us. And we're just talking. I said, Perry, Ellen, we just so happen to have this custom. Guess what it is? What am I going to do, everybody? There you go. Hey, would y'all like to go out to eat? I said, our treat. Perry, what's your favorite restaurant in Jacksonville? Oh, Rob, it's too expensive. It's a Phoenix. I said, no problem. We'll take you. Really? I said, yeah. He said, well, man, Rob, I'm not feeling too good. And if I go to a Phoenix, I want to eat. He said, can I do this next Sunday? I said, it just so happens we'll be in town next week. I said, we'll do it. He said, great. I said, I'll make reservations, Perry. He said, thank you. So they came back the next Sunday, went through worship service. We pulled into a Phoenix after worship, sat around the table. We're just talking. I have one mission. There's only one thing I want. And we're sitting there talking. I'm going to probe. Hey, Perry, what do you like? Like, what are things you enjoy? Do you watch NFL football? No. I gave that up years ago. Them thugs, they don't even stand for the pledge anymore. I said, me neither. I don't like it either. Whatever Perry likes, I like. Don't matter to me. Perry, do you like NBA basketball? Too much money in it. I said, okay, me neither. Golf? Too slow. Me too, too slow. Perry, what do you like? He said, go Alabama! Alabama football, Rob! Oh, no. Go Alabama! Alabama football! Go Alabama! If I gotta like Alabama football to get a Bible study, so be it. I'll find something nice to say. I said, you know what? Oh, Nick Saban's a good coach. I can say that. All right? Because he is a good coach. I don't care if you like him or not. You got to admit the guy wins, right? I said, good coach. He said, yeah, man. I said, Perry, you've had a bad season. He said, I know, Rob. You know what a bad season is for Alabama? You don't win the national championship game. That's it. So it was Clemson and LSU. Remember Clemson and LSU playing? Y'all remember that? Just a year and a half ago. And he said, so this is recent. And I said, yeah. I said, Perry, you know what? When I bought my house, there was a movie room in it with a speaker set. I think it's 9 speakers and a big subwoofer. You've never watched a football game until you've seen it on that television screen. It's huge. It's a massive screen. hey, Perry, did you know we're having a football party at our house tomorrow? What was that? That was my wife kicking me. And because we're not having football, we are now. And I said, yes, Perry. I said, we're having a football party, and you're invited to come. And my wife is going to bake the pigs in a blanket, the mustard, and we're going to get the sausage balls and the chips and dip. And Perry looked over his wife, and he said, honey, can we go to their house? I thought I was in 5th grade. All right? He's so excited. He's just coming for football. And they came over the next night. It's championship night. We watched the football game. By halftime, it was a blowout. LSU was cremating Clemson. Now, I have one mission, right? Why are they there? It's just simple stuff. Hey, Perry, got a question for you. Yeah. I said, you guys came to the Jacksonville Church of Christ. He said, we did. I said, why? I said, there's 12 churches in Jacksonville. Why us? Well, Rob, I'll just say it. He said, our church doesn't follow the Bible anymore. Do you know we're marrying men together? I said, you must be Methodist. Yeah, Methodist. But we went to the Baptist. I don't know what to do, Rob. We're just looking for a church that follows the Bible. I said, Perry, why'd you come to Jacksonville? He said, well, we got that publication, House to House, Heart to Heart. And you always follow the Bible in there. We thought we'd give you a shot. I said, I just so happen to have these little booklets, Perry. Would you like to know more about us? He said, sure. 3 weeks later, we baptized them. That's how House to House works. They would have never come if it wasn't for that. On the back of your House to House, you can advertise events. I suggest you use it. Most churches don't. You need to have events in this community that draw people. You know what will draw people, Nick? Homemade ice cream. I'm not kidding. You make it. You do a how many catfish fry? Any fishermen in here? Catfish fry? How about homemade hush puppies? How about catfish fry, homemade hush puppies, and homemade ice cream? And we're going to do this on a Saturday night, and everyone is welcome to come. They're not coming for hot dogs, but they will for homemade ice cream and catfish fry and homemade hush puppies. They're going to come to this building, and you're going to get contacts from that. And so you got to advertise things that bring people, like trunk or treat. Have you ever done a trunk or treat wheel where y'all line your cars up in the parking lot and decorate them out? People come. That brings people. So let me tell you what doesn't bring people. I don't mean disrespect. David Hester is coming to do our meeting. Do you think they're coming for David Hester? They're not coming for Glenn Colley. They're not coming for Dan Winkler. They don't know who they are. They don't care that they're big names in the brotherhood. They don't care that Brother Cecil May is coming. Well, they may since he preached here for 25 years. But for the most part, they don't care, do they? So big name preachers don't do it. That's what we do in the church. We bring a big name preacher in to do our meeting, and all of a sudden, the community's coming. They're not coming, are they? You got to figure out what to do to get them here. Inside House to House, we offer free things like tracts, DVDs, videos, posters. Just write to us. We'll send you a book. We'll even send you a book on marriage. Just write to us. And guess what happens in most of our churches? Someone writes to the church and says, we'd like your free book on marriage. And guess what we do? We mail it to them. No, don't mail it to them. Hand deliver it. Go to their door. Knock on it. Meet them. And if you do that, this is what you get. Her name's Brenda. And the secretary called me down there and she said, hey, Rob, the elders told me I wasn't allowed to mail things anymore. I said, I'm sorry, Deborah. That was my fault. What am I supposed to do with this request for this marriage material? I said, well, you put it in my box. What are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to hand deliver it. We've never done that before. That's because we don't baptize. That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't. I controlled myself. I said, just put it in my box, Deborah, and I'll take care of it. So Nicole and I drove down the road. We grabbed the marriage material, right? And we got it in our hands. And I went to Brenda's house, knocked on the door. Now, I always take a woman or a child. I never knock alone. It's ethical. It also helps you get in the door. They will open the door for your wife. They will not open it for you because you are scary. Okay? They will open it for your children, but they will not open for you because you're scary. They look at you and they go, I'm not going to open the door. Oh, that little cute little boy, and they're going to open the door. So she opens the door. I move in. Hello, my name's Rob, my wife Nicole. Oh, yes. Ma'am, I'm from House to House, Heart to Heart. You asked for some marriage material. Oh, yes. I said, I just wanted to give it to you. Well, that's what I said. This is a DVD. You can watch it. This is a book and a track right here. Oh, yeah, yeah. I said, ma'am, did you just get married? Sure did. I just got married. I said, okay. I said, ma'am, tell me about it. How long you been? About a month. And I said, ma'am, how long have you lived here? About a month. She said, well, sir. She said, do you know where there's a local church? I said, you looking for one? She said, well, sir, do you know anything about the Bible? Oh, just a little bit. She said, good, because I know nothing about it. She said, oh, good, because my husband knows nothing about the Bible. She looks over, and there's Daniel. Said, Daniel, get up. There are some people here to meet you. I don't know what that man does all day. He's been sleeping ever since he got home. I don't know what he does. Daniel, get off the couch. So Daniel, guy in the white, he walks over. He's going like this, trying to wake up, Yes. Daniel, these two people and me are going to teach you the Bible. This man knows nothing about the Bible. You could have blew me over. I said, ma'am, when would you like to start? She says, what about tomorrow? I said, my wife will make chocolate chip cookies, and we'll be glad to come. We baptized Brenda, Daniel, Winford, and we just kept baptizing. We baptized 7 people because of that knock on the door. What happens if I mailed it? You think we'd have baptized anybody? Personal contact. You got to have contacts. How about targeting? How about if we ask the members to write down the name and address of everybody they work with, go to school with, everybody they know? Because your house-to-house mailing area is limited. We can add them manually. We can have a spreadsheet, Will. You can get names and addresses of everybody your members here know, and we will add them. And now you're giving it to friends and family. And you can talk to them about it. And you can use it as an intro to get a Bible study. It's called targeting. What about door knocking? What's the percentage that most people get when they knock doors? What is it? What's the percentage? You knock 100 doors, and how many successes do you have in 100 doors? 1, 2? That's about right. Will, did you say that? Okay. How about if I said we can teach you how to get 35%? Would that interest you guys? The first time I did this, I thought it was a fluke because we tried something different. We reimagined door knocking. David Shannon's one of my friends. I used to preach at Willette. He was at Mount Juliet. David and I sat down. We talked about evangelism a lot. He said, Rob, the problem we have with door knocking is we have unrealistic expectations. He said, we have to reimagine it. So we talked a lot about what that would look like. And then we started experimenting. And we raised our success rate from 2 to 3% to 35%. I would teach you guys how to do that. When you go down to Florida, I'll show you exactly how to do that when you go door to door. No more 2%. We're going to get 35%. Now, I thought it was a fluke the first year I did that. So I did it again. I got 34%. We knocked 1,500 doors. We got 738 responses. I had 263 contacts. I can't wait to teach you guys how to do that. Let's go to the next one. This is called new movers. Anybody here own a business? Brother Nick, you said you work in, was it signs? Okay, and brother, you work, air conditioning. Okay, now I know you said you didn't advertise. I understand that. But let's say you're a younger man, I won't say young, a younger man, and you just got into the industry. And you just moved here, you don't know anybody. Nobody knows you. And I came up to you and said this. What's your name again? Finest. Brother, Mr. Finest. I'm Rob Whitaker. I represent this advertising firm, and I tell you what, Mr. Finest, I have access to every person who moves into this community, and I can give you their name and address. Would you be interested in getting that information? Okay, because you got too much work. That's why I prefaced it that you were young and just moved here. And so if you were just starting out a business, that's good information, isn't it? What would you do with that information? So if I gave you the information of all the people who move into this community, what would you do with that information? That's right. You would send out a promotional, maybe you'd send out like we'll do a free diagnostic on your son, just to get business. Because once you're out there, then you don't have to worry about it. So businesses understand that, right? They understand how to generate that. Do you know we can do that at house to house, heart to heart? We can give you the name of every person who moves into this town. I have the information with me. I'm going to share it with you. In fact, I know how many people moved to Fulton, Kentucky last month, the month before. I can give you their names and addresses. Now, with that information, now that you know who's new in the community, let me quote David Shannon, president of Free Parking. People are most likely to change churches when they move. A couple of generations ago, if a couple or a family or an individual moved from one city to another city, they usually stayed with that same denomination. He said, those days are over. It doesn't matter to me what church you were a member of in the last town. Your average person today is willing to look at any church in their neighborhood. This is an excellent and powerful opportunity for evangelism. It doesn't matter to me what church they were members of in the last town. I want them to visit the church of Christ because it gives us the best opportunity to sit down and study the Word of God. So we're going to give you an app. We're going to give you their name. We're going to give you their address. And do you know what you need to do? Hello, my name is Finus. I've lived here for 53 years. Welcome to our community. By the way, I'd like to give you a gift basket. Huh? A gift? Yes, ma'am. This is a gift basket made by our ladies. Right now, my wife is with your women. You know what she's doing right now? My wife is teaching your ladies how to go shopping in the name of the Lord. They've never done this before. It's God authorized. They're going to go to the Dollar Tree, just right down the road, gift, and welcome them to the community. You're going to be the first church that knocks on their door. But not only that, we're going to send a postcard from house to house, heart to heart, welcoming them, and we're going to send them a New Movers edition 2 weeks later. Now, I'm going to start putting this together because that's potent right there. That will give you members. You have to make a road. It's got to be organized, super organized. And you got to have membership participation. You got to do it every Sunday. And you got to target sinners. You got to target the lost, not the saved, the lost. The saved can go in the bulletin, prayer list. The lost will go on this list. And we're going to send them out strategically. So we're going to gather our members in a room. We're going to send 25 cards per contact. We're going to send 5 cards on Monday, 5 cards on Tuesday, 5 cards on Wednesday, 5 cards on Thursday, 5 cards on Friday, and we're going to bombard them with cards. We're going to do it for 4 weeks. We're going to generate compassion. We're going to open their heart. Because when you guys do this, when Will and his wife, what's your wife's name again, Will?
Sarah.
When Will and Sarah knock on the door after sending 4 weeks of cards and say, my name's Will, this is my wife Sarah, we're from the Parkway Church of Christ. You're from the Parkway Church of Christ? Yes, ma'am. You're the church sending us those cards? Yes, ma'am. Come on in here. They're going to grab you and pull. I've had this happen. They're going to pull you in. Look at all those cards. There are 66 cards in this house. He said, I've never got that many cards in my life. Where are you people coming from? Sit down. Tell me about yourself. Now, if you can't get a Bible study out of that, quit. You know that actually happens. How about if, Will, you just went up and knocked on that house and said, my name's Will, my wife, and, we're here to talk to you about the Parkway Church of Christ. How far are you going to get? That's right. That's what a robust card ministry does. Brethren, I know you have cards. I know you send cards, but we got to fine-tune it. Fine-tune it, all right? Get everybody on the same page as an army, all right? Do it strategically. It'll give you results. It'll give you results like nothing else you do. This is one of the most potent things in our school. Those cards out there, they're just not cards. Those are invitations to Bible studies. And it works wonderfully. Her name's Bettina. When I walked into her apartment after several weeks of her visiting the Jacksonville church, she was ready. I said, Bettina? I said, you got a lot of cards in here. Yeah. That church you're a member of in Jacksonville, yeah, nice church. They send me cards every day. I have to go get my mail or it fills up, I love to get the mail now. How hard was it for me to get the Bible study? Not hard. Bettina, would you like to know more about the church? Sure would. Look at those. Look at that picture, everybody. Look at it. How do you think I got the Bible study? Because you did your job. Because you helped your preacher. Because you sent cards. Because you had an organized effort from a church that overwhelmed her with love. And some of you men, do you know what you did for her? You bought her a chair. See the chair she's sitting in? She didn't have one. Some men went down to the local store, Big Lots, and they bought a chair for $200. And they brought it in and gave it to her as a gift from the church. Because she had no furniture. And because the men of the church Some of the ladies of the church went over to her house and when she was sick and couldn't get out of her chair, and they cleaned her house for her. And when another lady went to her house and grabbed her laundry and did her laundry for her and brought it back all folded and nice. And when another lady in the church brings her a meal one day, and when I come in and I say, would you like to know more about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? Guess what she said? That's Christianity in action. That's what we have to do as Christians. Oh, that's a lot of work. Takes commitment, you know. Yeah, it does. I'd rather pay Will to do all that. That's not why you pay Will. And Will can't do all that. And that's not Will's job. That's called being a Christian. And so, no, you can't do it by yourself, Brother Finest. You have a life you have to live. But you know what? Maybe you can take 30 minutes out of your day once a week and help the church. And I know you would. You wouldn't be here if you wouldn't. No man comes to an effort like this and isn't willing to help. And maybe even there's somebody you meet out there, their air conditioner's not working real well. Hey, we got a guy at church. He may be able to take a look at that for you. I did that as a preacher all the time. I knew who my guys were: plumber, HVAC, technology guru, whoever it is, a carpenter, you know, and just jack of all trades, master of none, but I can do things, you know. That's Bettina right after the study. That's Alan Webster. Y'all know Alan? Most people in the brotherhood know Alan Webster. I called Alan and said, I need some help for the baptism. Those are called visitor bags. Now, what's the normal protocol we use in the church for visitors? What's the normal protocol? Here it is. If you're in the audience this morning visiting, there's a card in the pew back in front of you. If you'll take that card and fill it out and put it in the basket, we'll have some young men pick it up as we walk down the aisle. Have y'all heard, anybody ever heard that before? Yes. Do the visitors fill out the cards? Yeah, about 50%. So we literally have visitors walking in our doors and walking out, and we don't get a name and address. Is that a good thing? It's a terrible thing. Do you think your employee would allow that to happen? Nope. So what are we going to do to fix that? My wife right now is teaching your ladies how to go shopping in the name of the Lord. They're making visitor bags. Now, my wife has already made some for you. My wife, every church she comes to, she goes to the store and she donates this to you. She's going to donate the visitor bag. She's going to donate the new mover basket. And she's going to teach your ladies how to do this, because this is important. Now, Brother Finest, I want to use you as an example. I want you to be a visitor. Okay? And so I want to train some members how to treat visitors. Rule number 1. What's the number one thing a visitor wants when they walk into the church? What's the number one thing a visitor wants?
Hello, handshake.
Okay, good guess. Anybody else? Because that's not right. Yeah, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Barna Pew Research study, and they're pretty good. They did a poll, or study, what do visitors want when they visit your church? Number 1, by far, blown away everybody else, there was one thing. Anybody else have a guess? Smile. Okay, so it was on there. Friendly church was on there. Okay, anybody else? Not it. The number one thing a visitor wants when they walk into a church is to sit down. Profound, isn't it? They just want to sit down. They don't want to have the welcome committee come out there and embarrass them. They do not want Gabby Gossip to meet them at the front door and explain why, Brother so-and-so is having a bad day. They do not want Mr. Grumpy out there scowling at them. They want Mr. and Mrs. Happy to sit next to them. I'm Mr. Happy. My wife is Mrs. Happy. We're going to sit next to Mr. Finest. So my wife and I normally sit in our scriptural pew here, but not today. Because Mr. Finest is sitting right here. We're not going to sit in our scriptural pew. We're going to sit here. So I'm going to sit there. My wife is going to sit, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to look back and say, "Sir, my name's Rob. What's your name?" And we're going to shake hands. And he said, "My name's Finest." So I said, "Do you live in the neighborhood, sir? Do you live near?" "Yes, I do. I live about 20 minutes out here." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Sir," "you're visiting this?" "Yes, you're visiting this morning." I said, "Man, we're glad to have you." I said, "I've got a gift for you. I'll be right back." And now at a location that's already been marked, I'm going to go grab the visitor bags. I'm going to pull one back. I'll go give you, Mr. Finest. Our ladies have made this real nice gift basket bag. It's got some mints and a little coffee mug, and it's got a notepad and a Bible and some other things. We just thought you'd like it. And by the way, we're a card-sending church. We want to send you some thank you cards. Can I get your name? How do you spell fine? F-I-N. And I'm going to fill this out. I don't give it to him. And your address is 136 C Street. Do you know I get the card every time? I never have met a visitor that does not give me their information. We should never let a visitor walk into our church and exit without that information. Because is that a good contact? Is a visitor a contact, everybody? Yes. Nope. Not until you get a name and address. They're just a visitor. And how many visitors walk in and out of our churches every Sunday and they're never a contact? Because we don't get that information. We should always get that information. We should always know where they live, how to get to them. We should never allow a visitor to walk into our church without getting their contact information. Right there is Keith Ritchie. He's our preacher now. And that's Cameron and Lindsay. And they walked into the church. And the church did their job. Contact card, visitor bag. And guess what Keith did? Hey, would you guys like to go out to eat this afternoon? Our treat. And he took them out to eat. Well, this is the nicest church I've ever been to. Nobody else has ever taken us out to eat. Hey, would you like to know more about the Jacksonville Church of Christ? Oh, yeah, sure would. Well, we just so happened to have these little booklets. 3 weeks later, he baptizes them. You think that's a fluke? I'll show you another family here in just a minute. His name is Mitchell, and his wife and his daughter. So do we need to learn how to do this as a church? Is this little meeting enough to get this done? No, I'm just whetting your appetite. I'm going to give you training material because as elders, as a preacher, you have to train members how to do this. This may not be your thing. You say, Rob, I'm not real good at this. That's okay. We'll find something else for you to do. But we need to train 2 or 3 families in the church to do this. Because we don't need to and we don't need to give that to Will and his wife. That is not what he needs to be doing. The preacher is the most distracted person on a Sunday. All right, we don't really need to give it to an elder and his wife because you're distracted. You guys have jobs to do on Sunday morning. Well, we need to find Mr. Happy and Mrs. Happy. That may be you and your wife. I don't know. And we need to say, we want you to sit with visitors and get their contact information for us. We need to take people out to eat. We need to use digital media. We need to use community outreach. And when you do all that, let me show you what you're going to get. I'm about done. We're going to focus all our efforts to reach the lost in the pews. We're going to focus all of our efforts to reach people with compassion cards. We're going to focus all of our efforts to reach visitors. We're going to focus all of our efforts and we're going to knock some doors. We're going to use house to house, heart to heart. We're going to use new movers. We're going to use digital media. We're going to use benevolence. And we're going to make the purpose of the church the purpose of the church. What is the purpose of the church? Save souls. That's right. And guess what happens when you do that? You get a 10% baptism rate. Whatever your membership number is, if you have 80 folks, that's 8 baptisms a year. If you don't get 8 baptisms a year, you're not growing. So that's what your benchmark is. I got to hit 10%. So if you're 150 members, you're looking for 15. If you're 200 members, you're looking for 20. The bigger you are, the more you need. But you can't dump that on your preacher. He won't make it. I'm going to stop here. I'm just going to run through these real quick because this right here is probably the most potent thing we do. It's called the bookmark, and I can't wait to show it to you. I'm going to share it with your elders and your preacher because that right there will transform you guys. That's probably one of the most potent contact makers we've got, and it's just a bookmark. I learned it from an old preacher. His name's Larry Acuff. He's very good. Number 7, by the way, that's the church that they tried it for me. I always do trial balloons first. They baptized 19 people doing it. It was incredible. Now everybody in our school does this. It's one of the number one thing people like to do. It's so simple. Those are, by the way, church members. Those are you. And they're holding up their bookmark. It's amazing what happens when they do that. You got to get everybody participating. No one's exempt. That's the job of the elders. The preacher, they got to get everybody involved, youngest to oldest. We got to prioritize and make evangelism the most important thing we do, which means we have to meet regularly and we have to focus on it. We need to publicize our mission from the pulpit. You got to bring the church into the strategy. You got to publicize the mission. You got to make sure the members know what you're trying to do and where they fit. Because if you keep your strategy plans in the elders' filing cabinet, it won't happen. You got to bring it into the pulpit and make sure the members know what you're trying to do. And lastly, you got to pray about it. You got to pray about this every day. The church has got to pray hard. You say, Rob, we're a praying group. I'm sure you are. I bet every one of us prays, Lord, keep us safe. You pray that prayer? How many of us pray a prayer and forget that? We don't. When's the last time you prayed for the lost? By name. You actually name somebody that's lost and say, God, help me reach them. Where our treasure is, there will our heart be also. God bless you, brethren. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I've enjoyed getting to meet this church. I've enjoyed meeting. I got one here from Minnesota. I got one here from somebody here from Dyers, Tennessee, who came. I think they may have had to go home. And there may be others that are here from various other places. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm going to take a little time, meet with your elder preacher, maybe a few others. We're going to try to make this an executable file. We don't want it to sit on your hard drive. We want it to do something. And I'm going to be at the where am I going? Greenville. He knows where I'm going. I'm going to Greenville, Tennessee. I'm going to start this Sunday, go through Tuesday night. If you want to come see me, you're welcome to come. I'm going to be working with that church. And we're grateful to have you guys a part of the School of Evangelism. God bless you, and let's pray together. Okay. Our Father and our God, we thank Thee for the opportunity as men to assemble and to discuss the most important mission in the world, to save souls. Bless these elders, bless your preacher, and bless the members. And Father, we just pray that we could work together to reach the lost in this community, in the communities where we live. Help us, Father, to be soul winners. Father, give us courage to meet the challenge of our day. Father, we know the church is in dire need of growth. Father, may we do our part. And we thank Thee, Father, for the families that are here, for the commitment they've made. And bless this church as it moves forward. We pray that this church will be a shining light for the evil rulers of this land, for those who hold office of power, that use it for evil purposes. Defeat them, Father. And for those that are righteous, hold up their hand. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Sure.
For those watching by Facebook and YouTube, I do want to say that this is the end of the live streamed sessions on Facebook and YouTube. I know that there was a live stream session for the ladies on my personal Facebook page that will be shared onto Facebook and hopefully shared onto YouTube as well for any ladies who would like to see that. So please be aware of that. We thank you for being with us on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you here in the auditorium, thank you for being here as well. We are dismissed, and then we will have a private session here in just a few minutes.